Hi, everyone. It's Rose Hamilton from PTO Today.
And Terry Frank from PTO Today.
Happy Friday, everyone. And we're here to talk today a little bit about volunteering. It's one of our favorite topics, and we know it's on your mind a lot as well. We've been sharing recently tips on how to get parents more involved. And sometimes we hear back from you that you try all sorts of things and it's still not working. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about what might be going on in the minds of parents that's preventing them from volunteering. And we have 5 ideas that we wanted to share why they might not be volunteering, with a suggestion for each one to turn it around. So let's start with one from Terry.
So the first one I want to bring up is parents look at you, the leader, as Superman or Superwoman because you get so much done. And there's a fix for that, and it's be human. Be real, have honest conversations, but not so honest. Save the griping or something for the board.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be for everybody, but make sure that you're approachable and friendly. Be real clear about what the volunteer task is going to entail and what's expected. And if you feel like you can, be sure to share a time when maybe something you didn't work out all that well. It makes you seem more human. And when you're a little bit vulnerable, people want to help.
That's true. That's true. They definitely feel more drawn to that than somebody who's perfect and doing everything.
Yeah.
And even though we know you can do everything, but still. So here's a second thing that might happen. A volunteer actually does do something, maybe shows up at an event, and pitches in, and then you never hear from them again. And it may be because the experience just was kind of lousy for them. Maybe they thought they would be doing a certain volunteer task and they got switched over to something else. So they go away thinking, I don't want to do that again. Our fix for that is always make sure to check in with a volunteer after they've pitched in. So after an event, make sure you reach out to all of your volunteers and find out how the experience went. You might get feedback from that volunteer that you could then take and turn that around for them and have them come back to help out at a different event and really make sure that it's a rewarding experience for them. So that's a great way to fix that situation.
Yeah, short of begging.
Yes. Well, we wouldn't say that begging is absolutely off limits.
Not completely. But try that first.
Yeah.
So that leads me into the third parent who shows up and no one seems to care.
Right.
And that actually happens, and it makes you look disorganized, or even worse, like you don't care. So you have to prioritize meeting those volunteers, getting them all set up with the task that you've assigned to them, make sure they have what they need. And if you know you're going to be running around like crazy, which you probably are, make sure you have a senior volunteer or a board member who can check in and greet that person. And then if you make time to double check or check in the process with the volunteer, make sure things are going okay, see if they need any extra help.
Right.
That goes a long ways to showing them that you care, and it makes them want to volunteer again.
Right, right. And another thing that can happen, which will put off potential volunteers, and I remember feeling this way as a new parent to an elementary school, is that you show up at a meeting and people who have been around for a while are talking, and it's inside baseball. They're even using acronyms to talk about different things that are going on. You have no idea what's even happening, and that can be very off-putting or intimidating, and you're afraid to volunteer. So the way to fix that one is when you're talking to volunteers, whether it's at a meeting or a one-on-one conversation, perhaps if you bump into somebody and you'd really like to have them help out, speak in very basic language. Don't assume people know anything about what you're working on. It's really nice to give a project or an event a little bit of perspective. Maybe it's an annual event and it's a tradition and you can give a little history. Or if you're asking somebody to help out on a fundraising program, you can explain why you're raising the money and what you hope to spend it on. So that kind of perspective and basic language can really help a parent who just truly doesn't know what you're talking about or what's going on. And let me just take a break here because I can see we have a question coming in, and it's from Melissa. Hi, Melissa. Melissa is saying, what about having the same 5 moms volunteer for everything and no one else is stepping up? And Melissa, we hear you, we know, we see this all the time in the group. People are saying they're burnt out, they're cooked because there's 3 or 4 or 5 of them and they're doing everything. We know it's a real problem. We hope that some of what we're suggesting today about trying to put yourself in the mind of parents who might not be helping out or who come once and then disappear, some of it might be helpful and tips that you can take to reach out and work with those parents. And we have lots of other suggestions for volunteer recruitment that we even have I don't know how many articles.
Oh, yeah.
Several, well more than a dozen with specific tips on how to recruit folks. And we'll include some links in the thread here today. But definitely, Melissa, we hear you and we know that it's a struggle.
In fact, Melissa, the 5th point that I was going to make may apply. There are plenty of parents who say that no one asked them. And so those same 5 moms might be stepping up. But there may be, and this is no fault of yours or any leader, everyone's so busy and they're just trying to get things done. But there may be parents who signed up at that back to school list when you had your PTO table and volunteered for things or said, call me, I can do this or that. And then no one ever followed up. So you have to follow up, and we know you're doing all kinds of things to recruit. You've got bulletin boards and Facebook posts and emails and parent newsletters, principals newsletter. But most importantly, it's really important to get out and talk to people one-on-one in person and do it more than just once. If they say no, then try again in the winter after the holidays. Try again in the spring before your carnival or your fun run or something, because circumstances might have changed. But it's important to have that one-on-one ask. And you're not high pressure salespeople. You're just saying, hey, we've got this event and we could really use your help. And, appeal to the fact that maybe they are a designer and could do your flyers for you, or they're social media experts and can get on Facebook and put together an event. But make sure you read over those lists, work with a volunteer coordinator if you're lucky enough to have one of those, and ask again. Right. Yeah.
Keep asking. One other thing that is worth sharing, and we'll put in this thread too, Melissa and folks, is just the other day I asked a question in the Plus group about what you all do to make parents feel welcome. And there were so many great ideas, and I rounded them up and we're going to publish them as a list. There's 23 ideas in the list of different things you can do at back to school time to make parents feel welcome. And one in particular that I loved was getting out there and waving when the drop-off line is coming through in the morning, so people can put a face to the PTO. And there are many other different ideas to make parents feel welcome. And that initial connection at back to school time, if parents get the sense of, hey, this is a nice group of people, they're more apt to be at least open to your suggestions and requests for help. So we'll publish that for you as well. And we hope that these 5 ideas of kind of turning things around and looking at things from a parent's perspective will be helpful, along with the fixes that we suggested to address those issues. So that's it for today. Again, happy Friday. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.